Ghosts, spirits, poltergeists, demons. Do they exist? Is there life after life? Are there unseen entities around us? Can they communicate? Do you believe? What happens in the shadows doesn't always stay in the shadows. Live from Northwest Georgia, covering the region and beyond, this is Georgia Paranormal Radio. And now, here's your host, Mike Watkins.
Good evening! Welcome to another edition of Georgia Paranormal Radio. This is your host, Mike Watkins, and we're very happy that you're able to join us again this week. This is episode 10 of Georgia Paranormal Radio, and wow, where's the time went? We're having a good time putting these programs out for you, and hopefully you're having a good time listening to them. We seem to have a growing audience here. Our numbers have shot up over the last few weeks, so obviously you good folks are liking what you're hearing. And tonight we're going to have a very good show for you also. Hopefully you'll enjoy this. We're going to be talking with Joey Ward. He is the co-founder of the West Georgia Paranormal Research Society. And I'll be placing a link on the radio site's webpage there for you to find out all about them. And you can go visit them, and also I believe they're going to be coming online here in the next week or two as our new sponsor. So without further ado here, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Joey Ward. He is the co-founder of the West Georgia Paranormal Research Society. And forgive the technology here, folks. This is kind of thrown together to do phone interviews here. So if it sounds like he's on a closet somewhere, it's just because he's on a speakerphone. But Joey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Mike. Good to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you on here, Joey. We've been planning this for a week or two here, and I'm glad we finally got together and are able to record this and get this out to the good folks.
Yeah, it's, I don't know up your way, but it's pretty cold down here tonight, so it's good weather for coffee and a good ghost story and a good fire.
I agree. It's a good day for me to turn the heat on in the house. I keep the heat down to save money, but goodness, I'm shivering in here tonight, so wow. But I'm trying to think here of just a few little things here. Tell us now, where are you located at? Where are y'all good folks at? I know it's West Georgia, but that covers a lot of territory. Where are y'all located at?
Yeah, actually, the name I guess is pretty fitting because we've got about a dozen members, and we're spread geographically from as far south as Columbus to as far north as around Bremen. Our co-founder, Amy Holder, lives in Bremen. We have members in Douglasville. We have members in Riverdale. And the rest of us are scattered somewhere in between. I'm near Woodbury in Meriwether County. I'm about 50 miles south of Atlanta.
Wow. So y'all do cover.
We cover a pretty big chunk of the state just in terms of our own, physical location.
Right. Well, that helps out too, though, with getting investigations. I'm sure the more members you got over a larger area, the more investigation opportunities you have. I'm sure. So.
Right. It does allow us to cover a larger area and gives us more opportunities for referrals.
And what got you interested in the paranormal on a personal level? What started all this ticking for you?
Well, some people would say it was a sharp blow to the head, but actually for me, I've been interested, I guess, for about 2 years now. To some degree, it was just a natural curiosity, for an explanation of the unexplained. Some personal experiences of my own in different locations, and basically curiosity got the better of me. I started looking at websites and got my hands on books by the Warrens and Hans Holzer, and just kind of dug into detail. And the more that I studied it and looked at it in relation to my own experiences, the more fascinated I became with it. And at some point, I decided to try to look to paranormal groups as a way to further my own research. And getting in touch with other people online, I realized contact with other people through other websites and networks, and little by little we came to the decision that we needed to form our own group, and our group has actually been, I guess you'd say, formally together since about December of last year. So we're still a little young, just almost a year old.
Well, that's, our group's only, I guess we're coming up on 3 years old, and that's probably about just as long as I've had the nerve to investigate. But there's nothing wrong with being young. You get kind of brash, and you're still excited about it, and you're still very curious. It hadn't got old to you yet, so there's nothing wrong with youth. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and the time has a lot to do with the sense of the group. People who are serious and committed to the effort will be the ones who are still around 2 or 3 years down the road. The ones that have lost interest or moved on to other things, usually within the first year they've kind of faded away. And our group is really devoted. We've got a good core of people, and we're still just as interested and curious now and wanting to find results as we were from day one.
That's excellent. And I've went through several team members, but the core group that I have are just that same way too. They've been going for a long time, and they seem to just get more passionate about it. And I think that's really what we need here. But you talk about your team members. About how many of those do you have right now, Joey?
We're actually around a dozen people.
Wow.
Yeah, we're in terms of most groups where you'll see 3, 4, 5 people. We currently have about 12 active members, and that has a lot to do with the area that we cover. We've got a couple of married couples, some singles, and some of all shapes and sizes, I guess is the word. But we just cover such a large area that over time, as we've grown, we've actually accumulated more members, and it works pretty well because you're going to have occasion where somebody can't make it to a meeting or can't make an investigation. And it never hurts to have a pretty good core of people to fall back on.
Right. Now, the name Paranormal, a lot of paranormal groups are just ghosts or are just one part of the paranormal, and the paranormal covers a lot. I mean, ghosts, hauntings, vampires, cryptozoology. Do you guys just focus on ghosts, or do you study other things like Bigfoot, UFOs, anything like that?
Well, from a group standpoint, we're strictly, ghost and spirit activity. I myself am interested in cryptozoology to a certain degree. I don't, and this may get a fight started somewhere, but I don't carry a lot of credence in the Bigfoot story.
Right.
I just don't see in this day and age that, Bigfoot exists with technology the way it is now. UFOs, different story. I do believe to some extent that there's something out there,
right,
that we don't understand, and in time possibly we will. But those are just things that I work on the side. The group itself is just strictly paranormal in the sense of ghost and spirit activity. And at this point, we're not planning on branching out into anything else.
Right. Do you just coming from my own experiences in investigating the paranormal, we're mainly a scientific group. Some groups are more metaphysical and all that good stuff. Where do y'all stand with that? Are you purely scientific, or is there room in your group for metaphysical aspects?
I think most of your solid paranormal groups will tell you that to some degree you need to have a blending of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Some groups will lean toward one or the other. We lean toward the technical and scientific aspect. Now, we do have several members of the group that are what we call sensitives. I don't know that they call themselves psychics, but they're sensitives. They're kind of our direction finders at times when we're in a location. And we trust their abilities, we trust their insights. But for the most part, what we do is in terms of research and documentation. Obviously, we're looking at things from a technical aspect, meaning audio or video evidence. But we do have faith in our members that do have some abilities. Now, in terms of Ouija boards and seances, we do not cater to that at all. Do cameras with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
Don't trust the possibilities of what might happen. Don't ask for trouble.
Well, a lot of people look at them as just a harmless game, but you really can open up a major doorway with those things. It's scary to me, and I've been doing this for 3 years, and I don't get scared too bad too often, but I won't touch one of those either. So,
truthfully, a Ouija board or a seance is just probably one of two ways that you can open the door to something that you may not want to encounter. I mean, there's probably hundreds of other ways that get into satanic rituals and those kind of things. But to me, it's just better left alone, and we don't condone it, nor do we allow it within our group.
Well, that's a good policy too. My folks, we don't allow that either, and that's a real good policy. I think it's just safer for everybody. And we want all of our team members to get good night's sleep, so it's that kind of ensures a good night's sleep if we keep out that junk. But so you're mainly technical, and we'll talk a little more here in just a little bit about some of maybe what may be considered some metaphysical. I'll ask you some specific questions about some specific things, but before we take this first commercial break here, tell me a little bit about the equipment that you use and why.
Well, I think that the biggest thing that a lot of people don't understand or don't look at is that in terms of what we do as a science, there's really not any equipment that's been built or designed strictly for ghost detection or spiritual energy.
Right.
We basically have to work with equipment that was designed for other things: cameras, digital video recorders, audio, so most groups will have the same standard equipment, the typical kit, digital and high camcorders.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use the thermocouple ambient thermometer. I don't carry a lot of stock in the laser point thermometers because, with ambient temperature for cold spots as opposed to the laser point, which is just going to give you surface temperature.
Right.
We use motion sensors, EMF meters. Of course, night shot is important with video cameras, and we use infrared illuminators to extend the range on those. In some cases, we use 35 millimeter cameras, but in general, for the most part, we use digital cameras.
You could go broke with a 35 millimeter quick in this business, I know. So.
Yeah, some people prefer the 35 because of the negative, and it gives you a much better way for somebody to examine the picture and determine whether or not there's been any tampering.
Mm-hmm.
With digital photography, the complaint is that somebody who knows what they're doing can doctor a photo.
Right.
But for us, we just find the digital just so much easier in terms of how quickly you have access to the pictures.
Right.
And the fact that with the digital cameras, and the extended memory, you can take so many more pictures.
And y'all have a DVR system too, don't you? Like a 4-camera DVR system or something like that?
I wish.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, that's on our Christmas list one of these years.
Yeah.
We're looking at those. We're looking at thermal imaging, and I'm sure most groups are drooling over those.
Oh yeah.
But they're both pretty major investments. We've been looking at a camera surveillance system, but at this point we're still in the shopping process. Yeah,
they can be expensive, and I've looked at some on eBay as far as DVRs, and I'm sure you guys have too. But some of those companies, I just don't know if I can trust on eBay. Their prices are too good to be true, and but yeah, it's definitely on my wish list, and I would kill for a thermal right now, but until I win the lottery or bump somebody off, I guess we can live without it.
Yeah, we're just, at this point, the groups that have those either have very deep pockets or have a television sponsor.
Well, and in case the television producers are listening, I do have a voice for radio almost, or a face, I should say, for radio, but, anybody wants to buy me a thermal camera, me and Joey can do a show together, can't we?
Oh, yeah. For thermal camera, I'd even stand up and do tricks.
Yeah, we can join forces for a couple of episodes to get a thermal. That'd be fine. Well, right now, we're going to take just a quick little break and play you one of our good sponsors here. We got some new ones coming. I've been promising that for a couple of weeks here, but we're going to go ahead and play one of our good sponsors here. It'll be the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team, which, well, I'm kind of fond of because, hey, it's my team. So just sit back and listen to this commercial break, and, hey, we'll see you on the other side of it. Hey folks, Mike Watkins here. Many of you know me as the host of Georgia Paranormal Radio, but I'm also the founder and general manager of the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team, which is an anchoring sponsor of this program. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team was founded back in 2004 as a scientifically based research and documentation team. This investigative group has over 17 years of combined experience in dealing with the paranormal, and the unique perspectives and specialties that each member investigator contributes really gives you the full package. You can trust the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team to thoroughly, yet discreetly and confidentially, investigate and document any paranormal phenomenon that you may be experiencing. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team serves a large area of North Georgia, North Alabama, and even Southeast Tennessee. As always, their time and services are 100% free of charge. All they ask for is an invitation from you to let them investigate those cold spots, bumps in the night, or anything else paranormal. And contacting them couldn't be any easier either. Just go to www.nwgapit.com and check them out. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team, proudly bringing you Georgia Paranormal Radio and proudly investigating what you fear. Alright, welcome back everybody. This is again Georgia Paranormal Radio, and I'm Mike Watkins, and I've got a special guest here via phone interview tonight, which is Joey Ward. He is the co-founder of the West Georgia Paranormal Research Society, and we were just talking a little bit about his group and their background and what equipment they use and what beliefs they have, and we're going to dive right into some more in-depth detail about his group and see if we can't find out where they stand on a few things that are probably a little more controversial, and some of the groups out there don't believe in this. Some of them believe in it more than anything in the world. So we'll just start off by asking him, how do you feel about, or I should say, does anybody in your group use pendulums or crystals or even dowsing rods, Joey? And I myself have kind of been practicing with the dowsing rods to some degree, and they're kind of interesting. Have you guys ever dealt with any of those, or are you open to using any of those items?
I'm actually curious about those. I've seen people in other groups that use dowsing rods. None of our members actually do, but I would be curious just to experiment with that a little. Now, in terms of pendulums, I don't know that any of our members use those. We do have some members that have crystals, and I've studied a bit into that just for my own knowledge sake as to what type of crystals or for what purposes. But most everybody has something that I guess maybe you feel is a I don't know if you'd call it a religious form of protection or some form of protection. I mean,
right.
Some people depend on crystals to absorb negative energy.
Right.
I carry a cross that was blessed by a Catholic priest.
Okay.
Some people say that is as much your faith that protects you as it is a symbol, and that the symbol is just a representation of the faith.
Absolutely.
Whatever makes you psychologically feel at ease reinforces your faith, and that's what ultimately protects you. So it varies from person to person. A rabbit's foot, a pendulum, or a cross. It could be any number of things.
Wow, I could not have said that better myself. That summed that up so well, Joey. That is, that symbol. I mean, I hate to call it a charm almost, but it's like a focus point that you rest your faith upon, and it amplifies your faith. You're exactly right, and you explained that very well. That's wow. I couldn't have done that better myself.
Yeah, it's as much, well, faith is, at this aspect, faith to the individual is as much psychological as it may be physical or spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So, something as simple as a rabbit foot may be enough to make you feel protected and reinforced, and then, some people may need something more, like a charm or a medallion or even a cross.
Right. Now, you said you were kind of, you'd be interested to see those dowsing rods. What really got me interested in it was a DVD that I'd watched called Haunted Kentucky, and it's put out by SciTech. I think it's a group out of Kentucky, and they're real popular up that way. But it got me curious in it, and I actually started trying it. And we had occasion after our last team meeting to go to a school that's in this area. There's graveyards next to these schools in this one county. I don't know if the property's just cheap or something, and that's why they put the schools next to graveyards or what. But this place is really active. And we were using the dowsing rods there. Actually, myself and my operations manager, David, were both using dowsing rods, and we kind of went back to back with them. And we were getting, one of us would ask a question, and we'd get the same answer on our dowsing rods, and we weren't even looking at each other. And that is the freakiest feeling, I have to say, is feeling those things turn in your hand without you knowing what they're going to do. That is so wild.
Yeah, I think dowsing rods and pendulums may even be kind of in the same area in terms of detecting activity. I think it's as much the holder or the bearer of the charm or of the pendulum or the dowsing rod as it is the actual, the rods themselves. It's a connection between the person and the object that they're using, and then of course the willingness of the spiritual activity to make itself known. So it's probably as much the person as it is the equipment.
Yeah, I agree. Now, as far as other things on the metaphysical level, what do you think about, personally and as a team, which I guess those two views would probably be the same since you're the co-founder, where do you stand on having psychics involved in a paranormal investigation? What do you think about that?
Well, I think this one probably gets somewhat around about as much as anything in paranormal circles and just in the general public. And in terms of the credibility of psychics, are not necessarily psychics in general, but just some as opposed to others. I've seen some psychics, produce evidence that it seems to be too profound to be coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the evidence just outweighs what people think of as a logical explanation. From our aspect, our sensitives in our group can connect to a certain level. We have members who I feel are more empathic, and to a certain degree, that's what I am. I don't see them or speak with spirits, but I just, to a certain level, I can pick up on energy. And a couple of our members are actually, their abilities are quite heightened in comparison to mine. They can see things with quite a bit more clarity than I can.
Mm-hmm.
Psychics, I place some credence in it, just in things that I've seen regarding how psychics work with police departments, for missing persons, murder cases, things like that. And at times it's just too many things that happen that they're able to produce to discount just coincidence. I mean, you have to look at the evidence and give credit where credit's due. So I think that psychics as a whole, depending on their abilities, are quite legitimate.
Very good. Now, does your group, do you just offer documentation of the phenomenon that's going around, or do you venture into the area of getting rid of what may be there? Have y'all done that, or will you do that, or where do you stand there?
Well, that question has come up before in the early going. I think at this point we're strictly from a detective / documentation standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
We'll provide the documentation, the evidence that we find, and beyond that, at this point, we would, just prefer to leave it to the owner or the client to take that evidence, and do with it what they choose. If they're comfortable with what's there, or if they're bothered to the point that they would really like to have something done to remove it, then, of course, we would refer them to their pastor, their priest, or other measures. But none of our members are really qualified to cleanse or anything of that manner.
Okay.
And the thing about cleansing is that, there again, it's another thing that can be quite dangerous if it's not done properly.
Absolutely.
You can actually make the problem worse than before.
Yes.
So it's much better to leave that to a pastor, a priest, a rabbi, somebody who's much more qualified to handle it.
I agree 100%. It's you don't have to stay there. If you mess up a cleansing and you make this homeowner's life a living heck, you get to go home at the end of the day. And
right.
These people, they don't. They are home. So you have to really think about that. And would you want to have the risk run in your house that somebody not do something properly and just make things 10 times worse, and you have to stay home and sleep with it? So, yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Right, and you'll have cases sometimes where it will appear that the cleansing worked.
Right.
And these are the really bad ones. Everything seems to calm down for a month or two. The family settles down and things go back to normal, and the family gets a sense of security and relief, and then suddenly it's back with a vengeance.
Right.
And you've got it a lot worse than you did before. And that, in that case, you've actually done harm to the family rather than help them. So those types of things are just better left to people who are much more qualified to deal with them.
You're right. Exactly right. Well, right now, before we get into our last series of questions here, I'm going to go ahead and squeeze in just one more little break, and we'll get this out of the way. And hopefully you'll find this a bit relaxing, and it'll give Joey time to wet his whistle and me time to wet my whistle. And just sit back and listen to this break, and we'll be back in just about a minute and 15 seconds if my timer's right here on the computer, and you know it is. So just sit back and listen, and we'll see you there. In 2006, the number of people in the United States was an estimated 299 million, and approximately 205 million of those people were online. Now let's suppose that just 1% or 2 million of those people listen to internet radio or podcasts. Let's further suppose that just 1% of that 1% are interested in the paranormal and listen to this program. That would be 20,000 listeners or potential customers hearing about your product, service, or website on every broadcast. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team and Georgia Paranormal Radio are homegrown organizations with a regional and now worldwide footprint. Trust us to promote your product, service, or website just like it was our own. Your success is our success. With rates at only $5 a month, guaranteed exposure on every broadcast, and no long-term commitments if you aren't completely satisfied, you can't go wrong. Can you afford not to advertise with us? For further information, email Mike Watkins at mike@nwgapit.com. All right, welcome back. We appreciate you sticking with us through that little commercial break there, and that may be the very last time you hear that commercial. Planning on replacing that one there with the commercial from Joey's group here, so that might be the very last time you ever hear that commercial. So take note of it, and hey, remember it for posterity. If anybody wants a CD burn of that one little commercial there, well, just let me know. I know you love it so much. So if you need a souvenir of it, well, just call old Mike here, and I'll be happy to burn you one to a CD. Oh, and Joey, if you can't tell, I'm nothing but a facetious idiot here on the microphone. I just love to joke and cut up and make fun of myself sometimes. So I got to have a little fun.
Yeah, that's the caffeine talking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God bless caffeine. That's what keeps me going all these hours in the day. Telling you, that and my 2-hour power naps every afternoon. It's a miracle. So we were talking. For those of you that have forgot who we're talking to, we've been talking to Joey Ward, who is the co-founder of the West Georgia Paranormal Research Society. He has been here talking with us tonight about his group and what they do and what they believe, and And we're just going to continue with some more of that. And we're going to find out where they stand on a few other topics here, maybe some hot topics. And, there's a lot of hot topics in the paranormal. All these experts have their own opinions, and I've yet to really meet an expert. So, we've got our opinions and where we stand and what gets us through the night. And yours may be different, and that's okay. I respect your right to have an opinion. I may not agree with it, and you may not agree with mine, but you need to respect our right to have a different opinion. So don't let anything here that may be said offend you or any of that. It's just a different point of view. And, Joey here seems like a very good guy, but we may not agree on everything, and that's fine. That's what makes the world go round, is all these different views. And we're going to start talking about some things here that may get your hackles up. And if it does, well, just take a deep breath and hey, get over it, because everybody's got their own opinion. Right, Joey?
That's it. I feel like I need to sign a waiver or something now.
Yeah, I need to pop in the disclaimer here about, the opinions expressed here may not be those, but, everybody's got their own different views. And if everybody was the same, then, well, this would just be so boring. So, we're going to talk now about orbs, and that's probably one of the most hotly debated issues in the paranormal is orbs. Now, I've always said that if an orb shows intelligence, produces its own light source, 20 different things that would make it seem like it's more than just a ball of dust being caught on film, then maybe it really is some kind of sign of energy. It may not necessarily be a spirit. It may just be some kind of ball of energy. Some people agree with that. Some people think that orbs are, the end-all, be-all of spirits. Where do you stand on that, Joey? And, like I said before, feel free to whip out the soapbox and preach a little, because, this is your time here, so say what you want to say.
Well, yeah, for the most part, I agree with you. Orbs that show intelligence, that move in an orderly fashion rather than a random pattern, I give some credence to that. Raises an eyebrow. The problem is that 99.9% of orbs captured on video or digital cameras, can be attributed to humidity or smoke particles, dust, even a bug.
Right.
And there's really very little that that we can do at this time and date to to eliminate that. That the nature of what we do, old buildings, outdoor activities in cemeteries. I mean, we're at the mercy of humidity. We're at the mercy of dust and bugs in old buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to create a lot of false orbs. To me, I would say probably, and there again, I'm probably an aggressive overestimator, but I would say that 99% of orbs are purely natural in occurrence.
Okay.
The 1% would be those that you can attribute to one of those natural occurrences. One that you're left with that you just scratch your head and say, well, I can't find any other way to explain it. And that goes back to what we do. I mean, most groups and most people will tell you that 95% of the time when you go out, or 95% of the evidence that you gather, can be debunked.
Right.
You can attribute it to natural activity or to something that you've done yourself. It leaves a very small percentage, but it's that small percentage that keeps us coming back.
Right.
And orbs are the same way. You'll have some people that swear by orbs and orb activity, and I don't discount them completely. I just tend to believe that a very, very small percentage of orbs captured on film are actual spirit energy.
Right. Yeah, I'm right there with you, and for those that believe it's really a ghost, and that's fine. That's their belief, and I just know that I've got crucified, if you'll excuse the language, but I have got crucified in the court of public opinion before about some photos that I had on my website, because you really could explain them as dust, and so I am really careful about what I put up as evidence. Simply because, it's not that I mind criticism, I just don't like it all the time. So, that is so controversial.
I mean, for anyone who has orb pictures, the easiest thing or the best thing that I say is go out and look and see just how easy it is for you to artificially produce orbs.
Right.
Take a handful of dirt, throw it up in the air, take a picture of it. Go into an old building and kick around on the floor, take a picture of it. Go out on a humid night, take a picture.
Right.
You're going to get orbs of some type, and in some cases you're going to get a picture full of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all naturally occurring, and no matter how careful you are on an investigation to not smoke or to not stir up dust, there's going to be dust no matter what, anywhere you go. And the camera, lo and behold, is going to capture it because the flash is going to reflect, and you're going to end up with something as small as a speck of dust that creates an orb that seems much larger.
Right.
But there again, it's a totally harmless, naturally explained occurrence.
Do you have you ever? I'm sure you probably have. You've been doing this for a little while, so have you ever seen an orb that you thought had a face in it?
I've seen a lot of those, and this gets into that visual matrixing.
Yeah.
It's very, very, and it goes back to the simplest of things. When people go outside and look at clouds.
Sure.
You look up at a cloud and you say, "Oh, that looks like a bunny rabbit. Oh, that looks like a bird."
Right.
Our mind, within its limited structure, tries to equate everything to something that we can relate to. And that's why we see objects or animals in clouds. That's why we see faces in pictures and mirrors and a smudge mark on a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Take a picture of it and you say, "Oh, there's a face in the mirror," when in fact it's just smudge. Where the mirror just needs to get cleaned.
Right.
And yet there's a face. Same thing with orbs. If you take any orb and you bring it up on your computer or whatever and you zoom in enough, there's going to be a face. Because at some point the particles in that orb, when you zoomed in to a certain degree, are going to take on a form that your mind will visually matrix into something that you can recognize.
Okay.
You'll subconsciously or unconsciously, pick a form out of that, and ultimately your mind is going to shape it into something that you can relate to, something that's familiar. So most orbs that I've ever seen, if I zoom in enough, I will see a face or something resembling a face, and there again, I just attribute that to matrixing.
That's a good answer. And I was thinking back here. We were last week. I don't know if you happened to hear our last week's program or not. We were Cindy and I. She's my communications manager for the group. We were kind of having a hot topic discussion, and I've always said that 90%, 10% of what we collect is good stuff. Cindy says no, it's less than 2%. More like 0.5%. And then you say 5%. I just think it's interesting at what threshold we put that, and matrixing has a lot to do with it, I think. But it's just interesting to see different people. I'm such a student of humanity. I just love to know people's opinions and how they feel about things, and that interests me. So you're thinking 5%? Isn't that what you said about 5%?
Right. It just depends on what you factor into that. If you factor in matrixing and any other things that some groups may use to debunk as opposed to others, it may limit it. I also think that the longer a person stays in this, whether it's years of experience or wisdom that they attain over time, but I think as a person stays in it, that number will go down and down.
Yeah, I agree.
The more evidence they accumulate and then turn around and debunk or disclaim, they tend to tighten the noose, and they'll go from 90-95% down to an even smaller number.
Right. Now, kind of getting off topic there, but you'd spoke earlier about cemeteries and the dust creating orbs and all. Do y'all still go to cemeteries? I mean, I know we do, but how do y'all go to cemeteries, and how often do you do that, or do you focus just inside? Where do you go to investigate?
We still do cemeteries. Obviously, a cemetery is a little more difficult because you're going to have more atmospheric and environmental factors that create problems. The EVPs are going to be a little more
Yeah.
There's just so many things outdoors that are going to create more of a problem than indoor investigations. We still do those. I don't think we'll ever, completely get away from it because it's good practice. But it is more problematic, and you're going to have an even harder time dealing with evidence and debunking what you do have simply based on the fact that there's going to be so much activity outdoors that's going to create problems with any evidence that you get.
Right. Yeah, it is hard, and we, I just have, we do a select few cemeteries, just because of number one the downfalls of being outside all the time, and but also I don't know if you yeah, it is cold, but I don't know if you folks have encountered this yet or not, but it's just there's really no telling what you'll find in a cemetery. And sometimes those things tend to latch on to you, if you know what I'm talking about. Have you encountered that yet? Have y'all actually taken somebody home with you before, or do you take measures to stop that, or has anything like that happened?
I don't know that, as far as our group, I don't know that anyone's had a problem with finding out that they've taken a passenger home with them. I think most people will tell you that when they get there and when they leave, they have some prayer of protection or some measures that they take. I know some people sprinkle salt, different things.
Right.
But the people who are really worried about that usually have some form of protection that they use to try to eliminate that possibility. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think anyone in our group has had a problem with that. And I know we have had cases where members have been at cemeteries and at places where things got a little uncomfortable. And, sometimes if it reaches that point, the best thing for you to do is just grab your gear and get out of there.
Sure, absolutely.
Don't stay around any longer than you feel comfortable. Because, if you do, then you are asking for something like that to happen or even worse. But for us, I think to this point, we're thankful we haven't had anything like that happen, whether it be a positive or a negative influence that follows anyone home or attached to them. So we're thankful so far nothing like that's happened.
Yeah, let's hope it don't. I've had some weird nights. I'm telling you, I sometimes I'll even forget to do my protective routine, which is hard to believe. I used to be a minister, and sometimes I forget to pray before I start investigating. But yeah, hope you never do have anything follow you home, because all of a sudden your silence and your sanctuary of your home is just a noisy ruckus, and it really is frustrating. It really is.
You like to depend on your home as being a safe haven.
Absolutely.
And if you're not careful with that, then suddenly it becomes ground zero. And, not a pleasant experience for some people, I've heard.
Not at all. I mean, I've got my resident shadow figure that I have here in my house, and it's been here since I was a kid. I actually live in the same house that I grew up in. I'm really blessed to not have had to change my address much, but there's been a shadow figure in this house since I was 8 years old, and that's about all I can handle at home, because sometimes it will sneak up behind you. Yeah, you'll catch it out of the corner of your eye, and it'll startle you, but yeah, when those things follow you home from investigations, it's time to say, nope, not going to happen.
Yeah, and a lot of people will connotate a shadow person with being bad, simply because it's dark, it's black.
Yeah.
But I don't really think, beyond just the impulse, I don't really think there's any evidence or research to support the fact that they're any more or less malevolent or mischievous than your typical transparent white image or whatever full body apparition you may encounter. It's just the conception that if it's black and dark, then it has to be evil.
Yeah. I've never had a problem with mine. I mean, it'll scare some visitors here. People will notice it, and I think I saw somebody move. Yeah, you did probably see somebody move, but I've never had a problem with it. It is a little intimidating when you don't expect it, but I'm not afraid of it or anything. I don't even know if it's a male or female, whatever it is, but Yeah, you get this, you presume because it's so dark that it's evil, but yeah, it's not a problem here. So
Yeah, as long as there's never any malicious intent or any poltergeist activity related to it, as long as it seems harmless and just as much curious as anything else, then there's nothing to worry about.
yeah. Now I know most groups here. We'll get back on the subject of your group here instead of what I have running up and down my hall in the middle of the night. But most groups have a strict policy, and I'm sure you guys do too, about trespassing to ghost hunt. And I'm sure you good folks don't do that.
No, we have our procedures and protocols and things that all members, of course, have to read and agree to before they're even considered for membership.
Right.
And one of the strictest things, and we even listed on our website, I think under our legal disclaimer, is that we don't condone trespassing, and it's strictly prohibited by members of the group who are anywhere in the name of the group. There's 2 or 3 things on our list that are definite no-nos, and these things will automatically get you terminated, kicked out, whatever you want to call it. Drinking on an investigation is one. Obviously, drugs, trespassing, willful intent to destroy. Like if you intentionally break something, or those sort of things.
Right.
Those will automatically get you a one-way ticket out. But trespassing is something that more than anything else, can get people locked up. So obviously, doesn't do the people any good in jail, and it doesn't do any good to the name of the group. It damages the credibility and reputation of the group, and that impacts on all the members.
And the paranormal community in general,
Right.
I mean, it gives the whole community a black eye. So.
Right. We're already fighting an uphill battle, so to speak.
Absolutely, especially us in the South.
We don't need to give them any more bullets.
Yeah, I mean, down here in the South, it's even more so of a battle, I think. I mean, we're really blessed to live in a region of the country that is as old as it is. I mean, this was, the original frontier was our area. This was where it all got started, in these first 13 colonies and along the coast and all that. But this is the buckle of the Bible Belt, and I'm sure you felt some resistance too from the radical Christians who really don't agree with what we're doing.
Right. We've had probably more than one case where we had requested to do an investigation at a site, and we were politely turned down for various reasons which weren't necessarily explained to us, but ultimately it had to do with, like you said, the religious implications or the makeup of the board or whoever was responsible for making the decision. And generally in those cases it is religious oriented. They just don't feel comfortable with what we do. Perhaps they don't really understand what we do.
Right.
But they're just not comfortable with it, and they prefer not to allow something like that to happen. I guess there again it just gets into the fear of the unknown or that sort of thing. And when that happens, we just politely thank them and we move on. We don't try to create waves because they're entitled to their opinion, and
sure.
There's nothing wrong with taking a stand on it from a religious or biblical standpoint. We understand that.
Absolutely. And I know you've probably got some humdingers of evidence, pictures that just make you say, wow, I can't believe we captured this. You may have some video that's like that, or some EVPs. But one phenomenon that I have to ask every paranormal investigator about is an AVP, an audible voice phenomenon. Have you ever experienced this?
For myself, I have not. Quite a few EVPs. I do think that some of our members have actually experienced, an AVP on occasion. Most of the time, in most groups will tell you they're going to get EVPs, which, and I'm sure you've explained this on the show before, an EVP being an electronic voice phenomenon is something that the investigator doesn't actually hear themselves audibly, but the recorder picks up. And an AVP being audible is something that the recorder
Yes, they are.
Especially if it calls your name. Either one's quite a bit scarier if you hear your name played back to you.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
yeah, those will definitely send the chills down your back. But for myself, I haven't had any cases like that now. Any of sounds, those type of things, that you'll hear physically, and of course the recorder will pick up, but no voices
Right.
that I have heard audibly. But now quite a few that the recorders have picked up.
What? Let me ask you this, and I don't know. This may be too touchy, or your case files may be sealed or whatever, and you don't have to name any specific place or anything like that. But what is the most interesting place that you or your team has investigated, and what made it so interesting?
I think that's a good one. We've investigated several places that I think as a whole were good experience for the group, and several of those places, members of the group had their own interesting experiences or encounters. For me, probably in Savannah, Bowen, Savannah, probably the most haunted city in Georgia for sure, and maybe in the southeast. But
beautiful town. I love that town. Oh.
Lots of culture, lots of old history there. The old Confederate forts, the cemeteries, Bonaventure and Colonial Park. Lots of old hotels and restaurants that were hospitals in the Civil War, and some that go back even farther than that.
Yeah.
For me, probably was an experience that I had down there about a year ago. We were on an investigation with some other people from other groups at I guess kind of a antique knick-knack shop down close to the river, and they had activity there since the owners had been there, and they believed that it was a little boy because of the toys in the shop would be moved. They would lock up at night and come back, and toys would be moved around.
Wow.
And so they got him a little red ball, and they would keep it up in the front, and then they would come back the next day, and the ball would be in the back. And they recounted to us several different stories about the ball being moved and the motion sensors going off at night, the police responding, and nothing happening. They even spoke about a psychic that walked in off the street one day and related some things to them that they had not said to anyone else. That just the two of them had spoken about together there in the store when nobody else was there. And this psychic came in off the street and walked around for a few minutes, went back and spoke to them about the very thing that they had not spoken to anyone else about.
Wow.
And basically said, he said to tell you this. So, kind of gives you a shiver there. But
wow.
We investigated it that night with the owners, and it was an interesting night. There were we turned all the power off, and no air conditioning, anything going on, and it was interesting during the night. The cold spots that would move around that we were detecting with our temperature gauges, and it was always very low to the floor, just above knee level.
About the height of a child, huh?
Right.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, we had a woman who was there with us that had mentioned the fact that she would pick up on things like he likes you, positive things. It was playful, happy natured, those sort of things. But during the night, of course, we were trying to get a response, whether it be on audio or digital. We would try to talk, and during the course of the night, as I moved around, I would try to find things that were small and lightweight, something that if I could get a response, it would be easy enough to move.
Right.
Like a feather or a ball or something, a pin. And I kept talking, trying to get a response, and didn't get any response, and I was just about to give up, and something pulled on my pants leg.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, the ball didn't move, but my pants leg did. So that was, and of course, true paranormal fashion, rather than running, I whipped the
Wow.
on the lower pants leg. So that was definitely personally my most memorable experience.
Cool. That's incredible. Now you talk about in paranormal or true paranormal fashion there, snapping a picture instead of running away. That's actually my next question. Is what is the scariest experience that you've had? And what did you do? Did you run away? Did you tuck tail and run, or have you ever had a scary experience that you just had to get away from?
I've had occasions where it wasn't so much something that I saw as it was a change in the atmosphere, a change in the feeling around me. Just I don't know, just the feeling of bad, the feeling of dread, where the air gets really thick and stifling almost.
Right.
And those situations where you feel like the best thing you can do is just back away. But in terms of something so bad that it literally just scared me to death or sent me to running, truthfully I haven't. Thankfully at this point I haven't run into anything so bad that it actually turned me on my heels and had me running away. But there's been quite a few occasions where the atmosphere or just the feeling will become so thick that you almost feel compelled to back away from it.
Yeah.
And usually if you feel that way, the best thing to do is do exactly what it wants and back away.
Absolutely. Follow your gut instincts too. Wow.
Right. Yeah,
So,
if it's giving you the impression that it wants you to back away or move on, the best thing to do is comply.
absolutely. Now I know, and like I'd mentioned before, y'all are going to be coming online here in the next week or two
Right.
as a sponsor, and which we're really appreciative of. We're glad to have you on board. It seems that our groups are kind of like-minded, and I think it'll be a fun partnership for us. But you've had some more media attention here lately, hadn't you? I think was it the Atlanta Journal-Constitution?
Right. We've what we're hoping to do in the near future, we're working on some investigations, possibly some follow-ups with sites that we've investigated previously. But we've been in contact with a reporter from the Atlanta Journal, and I've already sat down and talked with him quite extensively. But they're interested in going along with us on an investigation, with a photographer, and documenting the case, taking pictures, and just talking to the members on a one-on-one basis. And I guess from his standpoint, looking at it in terms of what makes a paranormal investigator tick. Why do you do what you do?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, document anything that goes on with the investigation itself. So, for groups like us, obviously, that are nonprofit, with everything coming out of pocket, any kind of publicity or media like this that we can benefit from, so much the better. It's a good way for us to get our referral base farther out and let people know that we're here and that we're willing to help. And like I said, we're fully nonprofit. If there's any group out there that charges you to do this, you better to leave them alone, because if they're out there to make money, then it stands to reason that they're probably thinking more in terms of profits than they are in terms of helping.
Absolutely. And what I've always been afraid of is with people that charge for these investigations or whatever, is that they're going to start telling you what you want to hear because you're paying them to. And I think maybe you could lose some of your integrity factor doing that.
Right. Or you have groups that don't charge you for the investigation, but they charge you for the cleansing.
Yeah,
and of course, lo and behold, they find something that needs cleansing. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Again, they're a negative influence on people in general, and then of course they give the credible groups, like you said, a black eye.
Absolutely.
Because, your true professional groups that are in this for the right reasons, which is research, are not going to charge for it. Absolutely.
That's I'm so glad that you're so centered towards the community aspect of the paranormal. There's a lot of people that are just in it for thrill seeking and enjoy a minute, but I'm really glad that you and your team are thinking along the lines of a bigger picture and along the paranormal community, because we are one big community, And what you do down in West Georgia has an impact on what people do in Ohio. It's I'm glad that you know that, and I'm glad that y'all practice good principles to keep your integrity up. That's something I really got to credit you with. That's really good.
Right. Well, just like our motto says on our website, that the purpose of the group is to research and document paranormal activity through scientific research with the purpose of educating the general public.
Right.
Our purpose is obviously to learn more ourselves, but with the intent of spreading that knowledge out to homeowners, to interested people, curious people who are dealing with some type of activity on a personal level, just to educate them as to what's real, what's not real, and in any way we can to help them understand better. Our three words are research, assistance, and understanding, and that's what we try to impart to people that we deal with.
Very good. That's very good. That's a good way to sum up your goal too. That was going to be one of my next questions: is what is your goals in this, and what do you offer to people? But that's a very good thing. Is there? I can just go ahead with that question. Is there anything you want to add to your ultimate goal for doing these investigations, or did that sum it up for you?
Well, I guess a perfect example. In October, we worked with the Holiday Dorsey Fife House in Fayetteville. They were having kind of like October Halloween activities in the city, and the Holiday Dorsey Fife House had activities within the house, and it was for the young and the old. And they had people in the house in period dress. They had Confederate uniforms. They had the ladies in the old Civil War era dresses.
Right.
Had, that type of activity. They had a couple that were telling old stories, telling ghost stories, and we were asked to be there and set up a table for 2 nights. And basically, what we did was relay our own stories to people who were interested, answer questions, and you'd be surprised the number of people that came through that house both of those nights, and the people that came through on Friday night and talked to us, and lo and behold, the next night they were back.
Wow.
Just answering questions. This is going on at my house. What do you think it is? This is going on at my house. Would you guys come out and take a look at it? Well, sure. Get in touch with us, and we'll give you a call. We'll talk to you about it. Several other cases like that, different things. People have questions, or people just want to relate their own stories. And the interesting thing was that we're telling our stories, and there's 20 people standing there looking at us, not saying a word. And it's like they're all waiting for somebody to be the first one. And as soon as that first person opens up and says, well, I had this experience, and suddenly the other 19 people are going 100 miles an hour. Well, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. It's like they're all waiting for that one person to commit, to step over the line.
Yeah.
And then suddenly everybody has a question. Everybody has a story. Everybody wants to relate to the group as a whole. And, of course, we learn from that ourselves. We answer questions, and it's a good communication for us. It's a network, not necessarily with another group, but just with people in general. There again, it gets back to what we do, educating the general public.
Right.
And that's a perfect example. There's your general public. So, we leave a little more informed at the end of the night, and so do they.
Absolutely. Well, Joey, that's by the clock on my wall here. It looks like we're crossing about the 1 hour mark here, and I guess I'll give you an opportunity here to sum up anything you want to say, or any of that good information, and then if you'd give us your contact information. Of course, I'm gonna put a link to your website on the radio show's website, and but tell the good folks how to get in touch with you if they need an investigation or they need questions answered or any of that good stuff, and any closing comments that you may have. Just go ahead and share that with them if you would.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and give you the information about the website. It's www.wgprs.com. It's still kind of a work in progress. In fact, we made some pretty significant changes to it just today to try to make it look more can contact myself or Amy for an investigation. We have forums. You can register on the forums if they want to come on and discuss topics with people about their own experiences, or audio and video advice, or anything like that. From a technical aspect, we'll discuss basically anything. Let's see. As far as contact information, if they would prefer to do it by phone, I normally use my cell phone for that, which is I guess I can do this. Maybe I won't get any maniacs.
At your own risk, go ahead.
Now I will, because I said that, but it's 706-977-9353. And like I said, that's my cell phone, and it's with me wherever I go. And if anyone is interested in asking questions, or interested in an investigation, or just wants to talk to somebody and find out whether or not we feel like they need an investigation, however they want to approach it, we do it with the understanding that as the owner or the homeowner, all the decisions are up to them. We'll sit down with them beforehand and agree on confidentiality, anything like that. If they don't want, pictures of their house, their property, or themselves posted anywhere, we have no problem with that. We get all that squared away. Any evidence that we find, everything is handled on a confidentiality basis before we even start. So, we understand the implications to the homeowner as far as the neighbors are concerned, those sort of things. So,
right.
we run it as much as a business as we possibly can. And all that goes back to maintaining, credibility and the professional aspect. You have to treat the owner as not just the owner, but as a client. So,
right.
Whether you're getting paid for it or not, you still have to respect their rights.
Absolutely.
And many times it comes down to nothing more than the owner saying, well, I'm not sure what's going on, but I would like somebody else to come in and confirm it. They just want to know if they're going crazy. I've had more than one tell me that. I want somebody to come in and tell me whether or not I'm going crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes that's all they want, is just for somebody else to say, hey, we heard the same thing you did, or we saw the same thing you did. And for many of them, that's all they need, is just somebody to reinforce or agree with it. I'd almost say in some cases it's as much a counseling thing as it is research.
Absolutely.
Research for us, and maybe counseling for the owner.
Absolutely.
But we're willing to approach it from any aspect that they're comfortable with. We go as far with it, or as they're willing to go, or we'll hold it back. It's strictly up to them.
Excellent. Well, Joey, it's we've been going here for about an hour now. I guess, well, for me, time has flown since we started this. Once everybody loosens up, I guess time just kind of flies by, and we get into chatting and all that. But I think it's been a pretty good show. I hope the listeners will agree. And I know several of your group members will be listening, and you probably hadn't given them any ammunition to shoot you down with at your next meeting. So I think everything went well. And I'd like to have you back here in a few more months. We can get some updates and see what your group's up to then. And I'd love to have you back, because I think it's been a good show.
Okay, sounds good. We'll work on it.
All right, and I guess what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remind everybody that Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. at www.nwgapit.com, that's the website of the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team, every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, there's a live chat. And it kind of coincides with the release of this radio program, and we talk about paranormal news and issues and this program, and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about in there. We're just kind of getting it started, so there's not a lot of people in there yet, so you can really come in and make your mark, if you want to be in there, and get in kind of on the ground floor. But I want to remind everybody about that, and I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up this evening. And I want to thank Joey for being here with me. Like I said, it's been a good show, and he's coming back. I may have to force him, but he's coming back. And we're going to go ahead and end this show tonight. I'm going to play you a little bit of music by an artist named Devin Anderson. And hopefully you'll enjoy this music. It may actually become the permanent outro music of the show. Like I've always said, this is a work in progress, so, this may be our new permanent outro theme song. But anyway, I just want to thank you all for listening tonight. I want to encourage you to get more involved with these groups and, give Joey and his folks a look. Go to their website, give them a call if you need an investigation and you're in their service area. And if you're going out and investigating here in the next few nights, be careful. Take that extra couple of few seconds and just be careful. I know your friends will appreciate it. I know I will. And hey, have a happy Thanksgiving too. And we'll see you next time on Georgia Paranormal Radio.
Underground.